Okay, so I'm not really sure if this is also a thing that they're trying to do, which is this isn't people with like multiple degrees, by the way. It's very uneducated people with like little to no life experience outside of their immediate environment, including work. Like they have experience in the hometown they were born in, and then they work there and they only know people in that area. That's the people that I'm talking about. So these people, like, I think they're trying to induce a coma in me because they're not the brightest bulb in the box. Like, they're not the sharpest tool in the shed, and they don't like feeling that way. So they want me to be. They want something to be wrong. They want it to be true where there is something wrong with me, so that they don't feel so like left out. I guess they're just not used to seeing people who are like normal. Like, I understand that because majority of the people that they do know have something wrong with them. Or maybe all of the people that they know have something wrong with them. So it's just kind of like, that's kind of why. Because like they're like, oh, I can't be so pretty and so smart and such a good person. Like I have to have something wrong with them, but it's wrong with me. But there's something wrong with them for thinking that way. Yeah, it's called jealousy. Jealousy rears its ugly head. But yeah, I'm not really sure what to do about that. I've actually noticed that I've read this and it's been noted with like these are the special people. So like they're people who are diagnosable with or have been diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder, which is a term used to treat like this is it's not really a label, like it's like a diagnosis given to an individual who has significant issues in functioning, and their development is like their development matches that of someone who's younger. Like there might be a person, or they may be a group of these people, maybe 40, 50 years old, but the way they behave and the way they perceive their life and themselves in relations to others is that of a 5-year-old. That's called pervasive developmental disorder. And with those populations, apparently they're like these special people who are like very adept at a certain skill set, not certain skill set, so they can do these things, right? They can learn these things, or they're like really good at one thing, and it's kind of like, oh my god, look at them, like she's retarded but she's so good at that, like that kind of thing. Also, just to note, people who are good and also smart and like those two traits don't exist in ugly people, physically deformed people. People are good at work. Some people are good only at work because they get paid. So like it helps them support their lifestyle. So like that's an incentive. That's it. But other than that, like I don't know. Yeah, there was a guy yelling bitch down the hallway while I was recording this, and that's like autism. You know, there's a whole. It's not called autism anymore. There's no such thing, medically speaking. It's pervasive developmental disorder. It's treatable. It's a condition, and the kid is supposed to be taken to a doctor prior to getting worse. I didn't know this, but apparently before this thing was like diagnosable, like before autism and mental retardation was a condition that doctors would treat, like with actual therapy and medication, um, a lot of people were stigmatized apparently, and a lot of people refused help for their kid. I mean, I'm not sure if this is true, but apparently a lot of people just hid them away. I don't think those were retarded people. I think those were criminals. But maybe like a lot of people back in the day thought those two were the same. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah, a lot of people seem to think that like there's nothing wrong with mentally. I mean, some workers will actually like abuse their authority by like intentionally hiring people they shouldn't be hiring because they're using them effectively. Like, as in, like, you're not supposed to hire these people for anything. Like, they're not really meant for work. And the reason why they're not meant for work is because they cause problems in the workplace. Because they have pervasive developmental disorder. So, like, their understanding and their, like, socialization does not equate to people of that age. It's not expected of that age. It's, like, regressed significantly. So, like, this is kind of like, what do you expect 25-year-old to do versus what do you expect a 35-year-old to do? Right? Like a 35-year-old shouldn't think and feel and respond the same way as a 15-year-old would. That's called autism or pervasive development disorder rather. And the reason why they cause problems in the workplace is because typically they are the ones who are instigating sexual harassment or doing things like pranks, thinking that they're actually just fun pranks, but they're considered harassment. But the reason why they're hired by some employers is because they have like a very specific skill set. So like they're really good at like this one thing. They might be really good at coding computers. They might be really good at like cooking. They might be really good at like making clothes or like they may be really good at like organizing certain things in a certain way. A normal people can do that too, to be fair, but those people would require a lot more effort and a lot more money to hire. Whereas with autistic people, you can just hire them right off the bat. They'll get fired, obviously, but that's temporary. That's what they're for, like for temp positions, right? Like they're gonna get fired because of like some sort of like possible litigations or like lawsuits and stuff because of their abnormal behavior. But they're capable of doing the skill set, which is why they're hired to begin with. Yeah, I'm getting a headache. But um, they're not like they're not normal. Like it's hard to understand. I think for a lot of people who are like, why can't you be normal? You know, and it's kind of like it's a mental health condition currently, medically speaking, and they need to be treated for it. I don't unless they have like I think retardation is like Down syndrome. Like they have like a chromosomal like difference. Like there's something wrong with their genetics. And some people have traits that are less than desirable to society. And typically those are criminals. Like people who possess traits that are just I guess antagonizing and aggravating and antisocial. But it's not something that's considered a mental health condition because that's just kind of part of their genes. Like kind of like coding for the genes to steal or something. Yeah. Again, less than desirable, but still not really a medical condition. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, I don't agree with these advocates who are like, yeah, just treat them like they're normal. I'm like, no, that's insane. They're not normal, okay? They have to be treated like by professionals or like the way they're supposed to be treated. Like, if they're abnormal and they're doing something that's like socially rejected, like you're supposed to treat them the way you treat a normal person. But like, I don't think you should like talk to them and behave and talk about them as if they're normal. I think that's like incredibly delusional. But apparently, this has been an ongoing thing in the human society where people do that kind of stuff, where they just pretend this person's normal, and then anybody who actually says anything about that is just a crazy person. That's the crazy person, not the actual crazy person.